Andrew, this is pertinent to the podcast. What's your favorite cryptid?
I mean,
because we're a conspiracy theory podcast.
It's
now.
Okay to be classic about it.
I like saying chupacabra.
Chupacabra is a good word. It means gum sucker. Come on.
I'm more a Piltdown man myself.
That's an archaeology fraud. That's a bit different.
It's all cryptids.
Well, what do you mean by favorite? I guess like the most realistic or the one
that you would have sex with.
Welcome to Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet podcast, the only podcast to combine the subjects of gaming, tech, media, and puppets for no easily explainable reason. It's February 21st, 2025. You are the internet. I am Kevin Blades. My pronouns are he, him, and this is episode 4 of season 3 of Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet podcast. Joining me are my co-hosts. His pronouns are he, him. It's Jamie, aka Scumboy.
Why, hello.
And his pronouns are he, him. It's Andrew, aka Bat Phantom.
It me.
With a side order of phlegm.
Dude, I have been sick since February started.
Didn't we we've done a podcast in person since then? You were sick then?
No, it was
No, I swear. I left on the second. It was also that day.
I say the first. I was not feeling well the day we left for the cruise.
Right.
I shouldn't say I wasn't feeling well. I was feeling, and I felt a tickle in my throat, and so I bought some lozenges. That's my lodestone for that. So it wasn't. I basically had a cold for an entire cruise.
That must have sucked.
It did suck. It was not great. It wasn't bad enough to ruin it, but it was, it made it kind of shitty.
Sure.
And, imagine being sick on a booze cruise.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
Sick for other reasons.
Yes.
Right. No, it was a great cruise.
Unearned sickness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most people still associate cruises with illness. People just assume that literally everybody on the boat is sick.
Hence
now, having said that,
Petri dish joke.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody appreciated.
Yeah. The simple truth is, you're traveling in the middle of cold and flu season, and in a particularly bad cold and flu season, shit happens. So I got it, and it nudged my vacation into a unpleasant environment. But I totally didn't make my roommate sick. He got sick on his own at the end of the cruise. I'm sure he got it from the
unrelated
buffet.
Illness.
Yeah, exactly. He got a very similar illness.
Tell him about the bird.
So, I should have posted this. So, our first port was Cartagena, Colombia, and it's an interesting port because, as with most cruise ports, it's in an industrial area, and you can run excursions and all that, and they'll take you into the town and whatever. But right off the boat, there is a zoo, which is actually kind of nice, but it's mostly birds, and they have some lemurs as well and some local fauna.
I love a good lemur.
It's surprisingly well done. And so I sat at a table, and there was a parrot on the table, and he started chewing on my hat, and then he started chewing on my bag, and then he climbed up my chest and started licking my face. Like, okay, and there's video of it. I took video of it, of course.
Yeah,
and it's amusing, but I'm pretty sure I got bird flu.
I was going to say bird flu, man. What are you doing?
Right, that's it.
You're snogging parrots out there.
The line I got from his roommate while we were on Xbox Live was that he was orally violated by a bird.
Well, again, they licked my face, didn't put its face in my mouth. Or anything, but yeah.
I think
it was amusing at the time, but
I think there's a threshold that it went past.
That's like second date at least. Did he buy you lunch?
Yeah. it was surprising. And obviously, it's not the first time this bird has done that.
Yeah, what are you going to do, right? What are you?
He goes to complain, and they're like, "Oh, that one,
that bird."
Well, it's funny because Penny, who was on the trip with us, was in the monkey habitat, and the guy brought the monkey over, and the monkey climbed on her, and she had a great moment a great bonding moment with the monkey. And then the guy said, "Well, the monkey was on you," and then he puts his hat out looking for a tip. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know, that's fair.
You don't understand the ways of Colombia. When the monkey's on you pay.
Yeah. So
we
whereas
beat the monkey if you do not pay.
Yeah. Whereas for me, the bird simply just crawled up my chest.
You got a free bird. That's what it comes
exactly.
to.
I didn't
you
have
had to tuck a bill into its wing.
You don't always get a free Colombian bird.
I was half expecting somebody to come running from the other side of the facility going, "You have to pay me for that. You have to pay me for that." But
the bird should pay me. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
We did go through the Panama Canal, which was pretty spectacular.
We joked about that on the last podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What a time to be going through the Panama Canal.
Oh my Lord.
When they came back out, it might not be the Panama Canal anymore.
Yeah.
The American Canal.
The timing was amusing in that respect, but it was still pretty amazing going through that, and just
like
the
locks
Atlantic
and all that
side.
stuff?
Yeah, we went through the locks into Gatun Lake, and that's where they ran the excursions out of. They ran tenders to send people on their excursions, and then we went back through, and then we docked in Colón, Panama, for a very brief time. Anyway, it was cool being that far south. I mean, it's South America, and then we went to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, ABC as they are known, which are all Dutch colonies. I didn't realize all three of those were Dutch colonies.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Saint Martin is split Dutch and French.
Yeah, Curacao. I was really impressed with Curacao. Like you basically walk off the boat, and it's a very short walk into the proper town, and there's some really amazing stuff there. There's a giant floating bridge that you can walk across into the other side of town, and then when we were going back to the boat, the bridge was gone. We had to wait for it to come back.
Did Mark tell you the Curacao story?
Well, I think he did. He had intended.
Were you not there?
He intended to take us on a journey into the Curacao he knows, and then he said, "Fuck that! I'm not getting off the boat." So, yeah. So he just stayed on the boat. So
yeah.
But no, it was a lovely voyage. It was on the Celebrity Beyond, for the record, which is a phenomenal boat.
Did you go on the movable bar?
Yeah,
why
the
would
magic
the bar
carpet,
move? Why would that
goes
happen?
up and down the side of the ship?
Well, you're not supposed to be on it when it moves, I think, but
it goes to different decks.
They couldn't put a bar on every deck. Like,
no, this one's more exciting. It moves on the outside of the boat.
It's like,
it hangs off the edge of the boat.
Restaurant revolve. I don't understand.
Well,
initially,
not nearly enough vomiting if it doesn't rotate.
Initially, I really wanted to be on it for the transit because it would basically hang over the lock, but there was too many people on there, and I figured, man, it's fine. I mean, initially, I had visions of getting like a GoPro and setting up a camera feed and doing a really cool, long-term shot, and then I'm like, who fucking cares? Like, somebody hasn't already done this. Just go to YouTube and you can probably find some amazing footage of that
like
very
VR
thing.
videos of it. People hung a camera rig off the side.
Drones and shit. I don't know. So I just said, fuck it. And I enjoyed it. It was very early.
Is dead.
Yeah. It was a very early transit through, but so I got to see a nice sunrise as we went under the bridge. Anyway, it was a very good trip. We all had a good time. And I was sick through the whole thing, and now I'm still sick.
5 out of 10 was sick most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you, celebrity. I deserve a free trip.
There you go. You should do that. I got the grief beard going on.
You should send them the video of the bird saying, "I need emotional support."
This is your fault.
You're the grief beard.
I'm not used to looking in the camera. I've got my camera on for Jamie. Jamie is the only other one who ever turns on his camera behind the scenes.
Nobody needs to see this face.
Well,
or this room. You've got a nice setup. Jamie's got a nice setup. I've got bad things happening behind me.
You can tell I've had a rough week because I've got, you know what the grief beard is, right? Y'all know what a grief beard is.
I mean,
I don't have to tell you what I don't have to tell you. I have to tell you what a movie trope is.
oh, okay. I didn't.
The superhero.
Okay. For the
grief
record,
beard.
there is a literal grief beard that some cultures they actually do grow out a beard when they're in mourning.
I
So
honestly didn't know
just
that.
for my
Now I seem
for my
insensitive.
defense, yeah, a little bit.
There's
But
no,
yeah,
there's a movie trope in superhero series, right? When in
Right.
the middle chapter, when everything goes to shit and the superhero quits, which is always
Yeah.
what happens,
Mhm.
they then stop shaving and grow a grief beard. I got grief 5 o'clock shadow going on because I haven't shaved. This is 2 weeks, believe it or not. This is why I just shaved, because why wouldn't I?
It's funny because I actually just shaved yesterday, mostly because I got tired of snot getting into my beard, my mustache.
Great.
So,
There's the
like, yeah.
visual for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So,
yeah,
That
no,
one's for you at home.
This is the advantage of the rose tinted glasses, I'm now realizing. Because even when I don't shave, I still look cool.
There you go.
That's the important thing.
Not me.
Okay, should we go on?
Yes,
and
please.
I will remember what these buttons did. Okay, this looks like the button for the Puppet Pit, which is coming up next. Okay, we're going to take a not at all real break, and we will be back with the Puppet Pit.
You have entered an alternate dimension, a dimension of fleece and fur, of foam and industrial adhesives. So I hope you have good ventilation. A signpost up ahead. Watch your step. You have just stumbled into the Puppet Pit.
Welcome to the Puppet Pit, where we talk about the puppet side of Operation Puppet for the last 2 weeks. And of course, the first note, as always, is the bi-weekly build stream roundup, build and stream roundup, according to the note that I wrote that I can totally read. And well, there's a lot to say on one and nothing to say about the other, because there hasn't been a build stream for 2 weeks.
It was not, the time was not right.
It was just timing. The last week, like I fully intended both times to do the build stream, and then last week, for very complex reasons, things just kind of went sideways a little bit for that day and that day only, so it just didn't happen. And then this week, I've been having yet another in a series, a lifelong series of insomnia episodes, and I was not in stream-worthy shape. Hence the grief beard. Anyway, yeah, no, there were no build streams the past 2 weeks. Things just went sideways, and it was unfortunate, but that's, if there's anything I can cut, it is the build streams, because they don't necessarily affect my business. They just affect, my social media presence, which I guess affects my business ultimately, but nevertheless, it's largely a community-friendly thing, and so I do regret it when I miss it, but the thing that I can't not do, of course, is build the puppets. And that at least got done for the past 2 weeks. So there have been puppets. Last week, there were 2 furry smalls that are relatively unique. I'm getting...
Furry Smalls was my favorite rapper.
Yeah. Right up until the end. And then it all went to hell. But yeah, so there are 2 furry smalls that they did last week. I'm trying to remember, honestly, because the schedule changed. I had different things. So every month I plan out what my builds are going to be for the month, the beginning of the month. And then I make adjustments based on how things go. And
It was going to be 2 Greeblies and 2 Smalls last week.
it was, and that didn't happen for reasons. So it ended up being 2 smalls. And then this week, I was going to do 2 Greeblies and 4 Sonks. I was actually thinking of doing 2 Greeblies and a Live Hands monster, but that was just too much. As soon as the insomnia kicked in, I'm like,
A
nope.
bridge too far.
That would have been a stretch even in a good week. And this
Yeah.
was not a good week. So I ended up going, well, what can I do? And I could like songs are super easy. And I didn't have any on the shop anyway. So it was like, okay, this is a good time for that. So
Yeah.
I ended up doing 2 Greeblies and 2 Sonks, and they both all turned out pretty good. They're very cute and very friendly, and they all went up in the shop today. So we are on schedule or on target for the quota for the month, at least. That's the important thing, and that means next week, being the last week of the month, is the last build of the month, and it's going to be definitely a Live Hands Blink Mech monster, and that's it. That's all I got scheduled for this. A full week. This was also a short week. There was a holiday Monday, so things just got weird. So things got a little bit unplanned. But the neat part about next week is going to be, not only is it going to be a Blink Mech Live Hands monster, but I got a bunch of interesting fabrics in. The place that's relatively local to me, or at least domestic, that I can actually order fabric from, they hardly ever have fur. This is one of the things. Look, fur is actually a problem for me to get these days. You know, what with import fees and so on. But I just, every now and then they'll get something weird that they don't usually have. And they had some stuff this week, so I grabbed what I could. One of them, and I wasn't sure when I looked, because all you can see online is the thumbnail, right? Yeah. So this was like this, they called it fur, but it's not fur. And the only way I can describe it is it's almost like a dust mop. Oh. It's this weird shaggy kind of, but all of the individual fibers are quite thick and kind of square on the bottom. It's almost impossible to describe. I'll show it off on the stream next week, obviously.
Like a Commodore dog almost.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, but
Rasta monster.
Something. Yeah. Well, it's not that the pile isn't that long. It's also, interestingly enough, very stretchy, which is really highly unusual for anything like fur based.
Directional stretch in the fabric,
just like a fleece. Wow, which is great for puppet building. So it's like, okay, this is such a unique looking thing. I can see something in this, but I'm not sure what. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a Blink Mech monster.
Mr. Furtastic, to celebrate the launch of Fantastic Four, the movie.
Okay, sure. Good time. We're synergistic with, I'm sure Disney will share their profits with me.
Absolutely.
You know,
you're helping them.
Unsolicited. It's free advertising to tens of people. I mean, come on.
The least they can do is celebrate you.
But so I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be neat. And I made a kind of observation at the beginning of the year that one of the things I wanted to do this year was like experiment with fabrics that I haven't before. Because, you know, everyone uses fleece, everyone uses faux fur, but it's like I want to start looking at other stuff that you wouldn't necessarily immediately think. Because, as you know, I've always been a champion of like accessible materials and just using what you can find, and you can do great stuff. And this is a good example of that. So I'm looking forward to the build stream, hopefully next Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Fingers crossed, assuming I sleep. That's always the thing. If not, you know what I'm going to try and do, because I have these times when it's good, times when it's bad. If I feel like I'm okay to stream, I'll stream. And so Thursdays at 10 a.m. is the goal, but we may have a surprise stream at some point. If I'm up for it, then I'll do it. Let's keep it there for the time being. So that's pretty much it. That's what went on with the puppet stuff. Other than that, I actually do have, believe it or not, an Oracle episode brewing in my brain.
Nice.
It's going to be simple. It's been so long since I've done anything like that. Like even just straight up puppeteering, other than like product photos, which isn't real practice, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of practice.
It is, but it's not like if you really want to build your skills, you got to like just do it every day. And so I do not. So it's going to be interesting to get back into that space, but I almost feel sad because it's been so long since I've had my characters out front, right? It's like, no, I don't want them to fall away and just end up, being forgotten. I want to keep that going because I really like these characters. So I want to make sure that they're present in some way. So there's going to be a new Oracle episode at some point. It's already the concept, at least the beginning of it. This is the easy part. The beginning is the easy part. It's landing the joke at the end. That's always the hard part, but I'll get there. Don't worry. Sleeped up or no. So that's brewing in the brain, and we will get there eventually. And so, yeah, that's it. I guess we will take an actual break. We good? Everything good? Yeah. And we will be back with Gizmo Town.
The sky above the port was the color of a YouTube video hit with a copyright takedown. Around the rainy streets, people huddled with neon umbrellas and impractical goggles. Here we fight the corporate arcologies and get excited about phones. Welcome to the mean streets of Gizmo Town.
I owe it to the world to bring Frankie back.
You do.
You know, just I hear this is how
at least on a stream.
It's true. There is straight up disassociation in my brain because to me Frankie is like a separate character. He's just like it's a whole other thing. I can enjoy Frankie, which is weird and seems arrogant to say, but it's just one of those things. It's just how brains work, and they're weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, hi, welcome to Gizmo Town, where we talk about tech and all things related to tech, starting as always with what I thought was going to be an empty deck nook, and nevertheless is still just largely a token deck nook, because it's one thing in it, and I literally saw this 5 minutes before we started recording the podcast. The Verge has posted a retrospective on the handheld PC gaming revolution, starting, of course, with the Steam Deck and going into, the INEO and the ROG Ally and all the different things that the fact that this stuff has exploded. And it's it's not a bad sort of summary of all the stuff that's happened. So that is up, and it is a thing you can go and read. That's it.
Yeah, they haven't exactly updated a lot. It's just the last actual news article in there is from the 10th about INEO 3. So, but we're still waiting for stuff to come out. Yeah, well, that's fair.
Well, this is the thing. We are kind of in a holding pattern right now.
Yeah, right? I mean, they announced 17 different handhelds at CES, so those are slowly coming out. The Odin Portal 3 is still shipping. Odin Portal 2 is still shipping. People are still waiting patiently for theirs.
And everybody, of course, in Valve is just stay in the line, man. They're just nah, we're when we're ready, we're ready. When we're not, we're not. And that's it. And gotta respect that. It's just making our job hard because it's we want to talk about the Steam Deck, but what is there even Steam Deck HQ and stuff? I think.
Well, now it's basically a holding pattern for the Switch 2 as well.
Yeah.
Everybody's terrified of the Switch 2 because, it is in the same area, but I mean, it's a very different animal. So
yeah, it
seems like a lot of them are just waiting for that to play out.
If you play Nintendo games and only Nintendo games, you get a Switch. If you play anything else, you get a Steam Deck or competing device, right? So,
although having said that, now that Microsoft is quite openly supporting everybody else, it wouldn't be much of a stretch to see Xbox titles on a Switch 2.
That's true.
So that could be a big difference.
Well, they do have third-party developers, obviously, but it is still, compared to Steam, it is still just a tiny fraction of, but it's also the only place to play.
It would be so nice if for the Switch 2, if they actually decided to curate the fucking store and just keep all the shovelware dog shit out of there.
Oh, no one's ever.
Oh my god,
the shovelware dog shit and the anime adult only games. They're what bring people into the store. Otherwise, everyone would just go to Walmart and pick up the new Mario game.
Didn't Sony just get into some big trouble because they had so much absolute dog shit garbage stuff in the store that people actually raised shit. And they
I think they're getting sued someplace about the state of their. Oh no, it was how they're charging digital games. Like it's more expensive in some places for digital games.
Sure. Regional stuff. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think they're getting dragged over the coals.
If I remember correctly, it was specifically over like AI generated game crap that was just like nice.
Because they need to just curate, just fucking curate, just stop the AI bullshit. The asset flips were bad enough, but the idea of some dipshit just dumping a bunch of assets into an AI and saying, "Here, make me a game," and then immediately posting it to Steam and the Sony store and the fucking Switch store is just nauseating.
But that's where we're at, right? That is where that's where the industry at large is and wants to be
rewarded.
So
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, no.
I pray to God that they don't.
Handheld related, Kevin has been running Bazite.
So yeah, we're going to thank you for the segue, get us out of that mire. So I meant to talk about this last podcast, but I wasn't quite ready yet. But I've been running. So as you may know, and this is going to be a big discussion, and I'll try and get through it as efficiently as possible. But I've been tinkering with Linux on the desktop, and I had settled on Pop! OS as my distro of choice because from all the distro hopping I did, and I did plenty, it was the least problems just getting it up and running and not having to tinker with stuff. And it was just like the smoothest install, the smoothest configuration. I just got my stuff up and running, got where I wanted to be in the most efficient amount of time with Pop! OS. But System 76, of course, this is the thing we've talked about before with System 76, who publishes Pop! OS. Pop! OS is a fork of Ubuntu without all of the Ubuntu stuff in it. It's just got, so you get the advantages of Ubuntu and all the support. When you search anything online for Linux, you're always going to find the Ubuntu response because so many people run it. All of that stuff will still be valid on Pop! OS. It just doesn't have all of it. Is it Canonical that runs?
Canonical and Mark Shuttleworth.
Yeah,
who's not great.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff around Ubuntu specifically that's not great, and thankfully Pop! OS just eliminates all that stuff. But you still get all the nice parts of running Ubuntu. So that was what was nice about that. But they've recently shifted their focus because they're working on their next generation of the Cosmic desktop that's going to ship with their hardware. And that's where their kind of focus is now. So it wasn't that stuff broke. Like an update got weirdly mangled and you had to rebase the distro that it was coming from. And things got weird with an update once, but it kind of was like, maybe it's time to look at something else. Just in the meantime, I am curious to try the Cosmic desktop when that comes out from System 76, but this is the thing with Linux. When you're in the Linux world, suddenly, it's like alcoholism in video games, right? You just go, oh, here's a distro. Let's go try this out. Because ultimately, if you structure things the right way, it's very easy to just jump from distro to distro. So it's like, okay. So Bazite or Bazite, I've never been sure what the correct pronunciation is.
I would say Bazite.
Everybody seems to have settled on Bazite. That seems to be the thing. That's not my instinct. My instinct is Bazite.
Yeah, mine too.
Who knows where the emphasis on the right syllable is? So, hey,
easy now.
That's an old joke. You getting that joke is older than I am. But yeah, so Bazite is probably the most popular quote unquote gaming Linux distro. Now let's just kill a thing right now. There is really no such thing as a gaming distro for Linux. That's not a thing what exists. And everybody will tell you this. One of the most common questions, of course, from people looking to switch to Linux as their daily driver for gaming is, what's the best gaming distro? And everybody will tell you very often in quite loud and uncultured voices, It doesn't matter. Linux is Linux. All of the things that claim to be gaming distros are just like, it's just cosmetic. The kernel is the kernel, and it's going to run the thing that is the thing. It really all depends on how updated are, like how cutting edge is the kernel's drivers and all that stuff. That can make a difference.
A lot of times it's just like we pre-install Lutris.
Yes,
so
exactly. It's largely stuff that like we pre-install all of these things that are like gamer focused.
Things that you can absolutely bring in any other distro, generally fairly painlessly, but it's included.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to install Discord. They install Discord. That kind of thing, right? That's what a gaming distro is. And that it also goes for Bazite. I mean, we have a nice gaming focused wallpaper. That's what a gaming distro is. But nevertheless, it's got a lot of traction because they've been really focusing on basically kind of trying to do what people want SteamOS to do, but without being SteamOS. Because they're just waiting for Valve to do their thing, and hopefully one day they will, but we'll see about that. But the interesting thing about Bazite is they actually, and I'm not quite sure why, I think just because the devs came from the background of this, but they settled on Fedora as a base rather than Arch, which is what SteamOS is based on.
Well, Fedora can be atomic like Arch is, where you're only adding updates as the outer skin, and if something goes wrong, you can just peel back to the previous version. Yeah,
this is one of the nice things about Bazite and this kind of approach in general is that, like, if an update messes you up, there is always an option to roll back. And it's very easy and seamless and flawless in how it handles that. That's really nice. You have to know how to do that, obviously, but it's nevertheless a really nice thing to add into the mix. But that's probably part of the reason, because we are dealing with things that are like cutting edge hardware and stuff like that, right? So it makes sense that this is what they would go for with a distro, but Bazite has largely focused on handhelds, but they've also, of course, been inclusive of the desktop gaming space. Now,
very easy to cast that net when you're working on a distribution is.
The one pain point, as always, has been NVIDIA drivers. They've been a big problem on Linux for a very long time. The AMD drivers are literally built into the kernel, but not so much the AMD drivers. There are open source NVIDIA drivers. There are open source NVIDIA drivers. They're bad. Don't use them. You do have to use the proprietary closed source NVIDIA drivers on Linux, which at least they provide that. They are, however, closed source, and so you do have to specify that, yes, I want to use these. You have to say to the distro, yeah, I want this. Because otherwise they don't have a license to do it.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, NVIDIA has, to their mild credit, and I got a lot of words for NVIDIA, but nevertheless, they have been making serious advances in the Linux space recently. They've been doing good things. Their drivers have been getting better and better and better. And honestly, I have never had a problem, and I've been using exclusively NVIDIA cards on my Linux systems, and I've never had an issue with NVIDIA. So we are at a point now where I would say if you have an NVIDIA card and you're worried about running Linux, you're probably okay.
Yeah.
And this is one of the nice things about these drivers is they go way far back. So you don't, it really doesn't matter if you've got like a 1080, whatever, you're probably still fine. It's still all the same drivers. So, nevertheless, I decided that I wanted to give it a shot. So I did. And I've been pleasantly surprised because I had tried it a few times before this and I bounced off it really hard, largely because the way that Fedora does stuff, and the way that anything Debian based like Ubuntu does stuff is pretty different. And I just wasn't used to it. So like most human beings, when you're not used to something, you tend to bounce off of it.
Be glad that you aren't still in RPM dependency hell.
You know, I now know what that means, though. That's the thing. And I've had to learn about that. It's a lot. But nevertheless, they've made efforts to kind of get into a point of usability where I would say that if you wanted to run Bazite on the desktop and you do run an NVIDIA system, it isn't necessarily the good beginner choice. But once you get your feet wet, it's not a bad choice now. And I have noticed, because now that I'm more comfortable just in Linux in general, and like I can drop into the command line and I can do stuff. And if I can't do stuff, I know how to look it up. You know, I'm okay in that space. I know I'm not going to mess things up so bad that even if I do, because of the way I have my disks structured, if I do mess things up so bad, all I have to do is reinstall and it's not going to take me hours. Like it literally, a fresh install of an OS takes me about 10 minutes to go from like clean installs up and running and playing a game. So that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So the risk is low. As long as you structure things like I've got a separate drive for my game installs and that's where they live and I don't touch that. All the OS stuff lives on a separate drive, and that's the thing I can fuck with, and it doesn't matter. So any file that I don't want to lose lives on a drive that isn't the one that's for the OS. I mean, that's basically how you approach that kind of thing. And then you're fine. Then you can just like do whatever. So I have noticed under Bazite a definite, I'd say better performance, not necessarily in raw frame rate, but in like things like buffering and micro stutters and stuff like that. I don't know what they're doing, what the secret sauce is, or the problem with an older. This is one of the things that like Pop OS and stuff that's based on Debian and Ubuntu and things. They tend to go for older releases of things like kernels and drivers and things because they're more stable. Any gamer-focused distro is probably going to be a little bit more bleeding edge, therefore a little bit more unstable, but you are going to get the benefits of having that more cutting-edge stuff. And we will incorporate, you know, the new stuff sooner. And Bazite does a little bit of that. Doesn't do it so much that it's unstable, but it does it enough so that you feel the juice, right?
Yeah.
So I've been having way less like caching and micro stutters and stuff like that I really noticed under Pop OS are just gone in Bazite. Same card, same hardware, same driver, same everything. All that same drivers because obviously it's whatever the most current thing. Even though it is the same driver because it's the same driver generation that I was using under Pop OS and Bazite. But I don't know why. Again, this is where my knowledge ends. But for some reason on Bazite, like my games run considerably less caching and no micro stutters, and they were caching, and I was getting big pauses for a while, and then it seemed like it would cache or something under Pop OS, and then it would be fine.
Maybe it's a SATA driver that's been updated in a newer kernel that's able to run faster. Like
exactly,
you're not
it's that
accessing
kind of
the
thing.
dish.
It's a
some buffer somewhere that wasn't optimized, and the SATA reads would saturate it, and then it would stutter while it caught up to rewrite. It could be a number of things.
Exactly, we'll never know. Like that's one of those like rabbit holes that are infinite. So, but nevertheless, it's just things got better under Bazite. Is what my personal experience has been. So I'm sticking with it for the time being.
It's nice. It gives you the option KDE, Ubuntu. You can even boot into the Steam Deck interface.
Well, that's the thing. There's GameScope. GameScope is the thing that is like what gives the Steam Deck its magic kind of thing. It's
the
not
Valve Wayland game interface.
It's not just big picture mode. It's like fully optimized for that, right?
Well, it's a separate thing entirely.
Like you have to boot into it. That's the thing. You cannot currently do that with NVIDIA hardware unless you use an alpha release. They're tinkering with
Okay,
that.
well, they're working on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, apparently, if you've got AMD stuff, you can actually even load Decky Loader and stuff like that.
Absolutely. On AMD hardware, which is one of the reasons I've actually kind of thought maybe I should just get a fucking AMD card, because I'm running Linux, and it's just so much less. You know, I get more stuff. I get game scope.
The
right?
barrier is much lower because everything's built into the kernel.
Exactly. But it's just that would be. I've got this 4080 T or not TI, SE or SI or whatever the fuck it is. So and it's good, and it's does the thing I wanted to do, and it will be good for years. So I'm like, I'm not gonna mess with it. Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah,
I don't need game scope. I'm good. I'm running the games I want to run.
It's coming as well. So
yeah, but everything I run is running either like at 4K, either between 60 or 120 frames per second. Everything. So it's fine. I don't need more than that. I'm good. But nevertheless, yeah, Bazite is, after some initial bounce offs, has now become like a comfortable place for me. And that's cool. Mm-hmm. It's nice that we're at that point. I've been doing a lot of talking. I'm going to keep talking because this does segue into the next thing. And I'll try and keep this short. So this year, I mean, we've been on this track for a while of me talking about, you know, alternatives to mainstream, you know, OSs and devices and whatnot, getting away from corporate crap, and which is just getting worse and worse and worse and not getting better. I'm not pointing any specific fingers. You all know what's going on. You don't need me to tell you. But if you're like me and you want to try and get away from that stuff, this is not a bad time to start looking at that, because we're in a pretty good, not perfect, and it will never be perfect, but we're in not a bad place to start looking at alternatives now. And what I'm looking at right now is, so my main desktop is a Mac Studio that I got 5 years ago, as well as my laptop is also a MacBook Air M2. This is the year, in October of this year, that the AppleCare stops. It runs out this year. So usually when I was in the Mac ecosystem, what I would usually do is when the AppleCare thing is up, that's when it's time to look at upgrading. And that just makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I'm now, my income is so small that it's not gonna happen that I buy anything new from Apple, because it's literally not financially possible for me to do so. Even
their hardware has not followed a sane arc. No
hardware
price wise.
That's the thing. Yeah. Like nothing's getting cheaper, but everything is just getting so much more expensive. That there's, you know, other than the moral and philosophical position of being interested in open source stuff, there is a practical part to it, whereas like it's just that you keep your hardware running for longer. Unfortunately, we're not there with Apple Silicon yet. We're getting there. There are some efforts to get Linux running under Apple Silicon, but they're years and years away from being able to do that yet. So what I'm looking at this year is, I'm thinking what's going to happen before October, which is when both my laptop and my desktop run out of AppleCare. I want to sell them. Because this is the thing with Apple products, at least you get good resale value on the open market. And I want to do that before they're too old to be worth anything. Because it's a fully spec'd out, like a first generation, you know, M1 Ultra Max Super Pro, whatever bullshit nonsense they named the thing. It's full, like it was literally, I had stupid money at the time and I just went, give me everything, give me the full, you know, so it's still quite good, still quite useful. I could still get a couple of grand for it, kind of thing. So what I'm thinking is this year, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to sell it and go Linux on the desktop full time for everything. So that's what I've been experimenting with this past week. I've been doing absolutely everything, including video editing. That because I do have to do a bit of video editing every week for the shop, because I put up the little videos for the products. All the product photography has been processed on Linux. Everything has been done on Linux, except currently recording this podcast, ironically. But that's coming. Don't worry. But yeah, this is what I'm kind of, because I've got this time buffer right now before October, before this runs out. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to make a transition, I don't want to do it super quick, because obviously if something goes wrong, then yeah, I'm screwed. But at the moment, that's what I'm kind of working towards. I'm seeing what works best and what doesn't work. And, you know, it's like, so far, almost everything I want to do, I can do on Linux with very little effort. The one stumbling block right now is image editing. Because of course we've got the GIMP, which guys, time to change the name. Please, God, change the name. I know you can't do that.
It's, well, I mean,
GNU image manipulation program, shall we call it that?
Yeah, but I mean, it's they've had forever, and they've also had forever to try not to make it a cryptic mess.
It hasn't worked. I tell you, no. I literally tried to use GIMP for the first time in a while this week, and it was still like, I am completely fluent in Photoshop and Affinity Photo. I'm good with a photo editor.
If you were up to date with 1992 Photoshop, you would be able to fly through the GIMP. But they have done nothing to bring it forward.
Yeah.
Like it is a mess of floating toolboxes and shortcut keys that don't make any sense.
Yeah, there's absolutely no, like, even just like moving a layer or something is just.
But the problem is they have the manpower to either iterate features, or they have the manpower to go back and redesign everything, and they don't have the manpower to do both.
Oh, it's the open source curse, right? That's the thing. So that's the only, like, well, there's other options, but
there are a few. Yeah. I've not tried any of them. I'm not a huge image manipulation person.
Yeah.
So
yeah, my needs are fairly light with that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to look around. Of course, and the other option is, now that we've got all of these, like we've got, you know, Proton and Wine and all this stuff. People have got Affinity Photo, which I do have a license for both Mac OS and Windows. People have got it running under Linux.
I really like Paint.net.
I don't think I've ever used Paint.net.
It's a university product. It's like a Mono is the Linux version of .net. But it's just it's like taking Paint, but actually adding like proper photo manipulation tools and filters and like Gaussian blurs and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's like the happy medium between a very, very basic pack-in Paint program and something like Photoshop Essentials.
Sure. Well, that's the thing. Like I said, my needs relatively light. I still need like layer manipulation. I still need effects. I still need, you know, Gaussian blur, all that kind of stuff. But I don't need a lot. Like, I don't need full on Photoshop. So we'll see. Nevertheless, that is so far. I mean, the fact that I got DaVinci Resolve running under Bazite is kind of weird in itself. There's a whole tale there to tell, but I won't bother. But nevertheless, I have DaVinci Resolve running under Bazite right now, and it was fine, and it did everything I needed to do. So, yeah, this is the year. Finally, Linux on the desktop. This is it. 2025. We're ready to go. So that's my stuff. That's my tech stuff. This time around, we should really move on, because God, I've been talking a lot. All right, NVIDIA stuff. What's going on?
So they have launched all of their new graphics cards, and it has been a disaster.
Has it?
At the very least, it's been a paper launch. They have not had nearly enough stock. There's demand because people are camped out at the fucking micro centers, but the reason for that is largely because I'm pretty sure a lot of them, not the bulk of them necessarily, but a lot of them are definitely scalpers.
Sure.
Because there's still money to be made, despite the fact that the prices are insane. I am looking at Canada Computers right now. The 5090, which is the Halo card. There is a Halo of the Halo. There are several.
Edition?
No, the AIO cooler versions.
Oh, okay.
There are several that have an AIO cooler added to it.
All right.
the Asus ROG Astro LC GeForce RTX 5090 32 gigs of GDDR7 with an AIO cooler is $4,499 Canadian dollars.
That's too many dollars.
$4,500
That's
for
reasonable
for a video card.
that you have to plug into a radiator.
Holy sweet baby Jesus. Well, it's got its own radiator. That's the difference. But
That's what the entry level cooler is, right? Yeah.
The entry level, you can't buy the Founders Edition.
You need a case the size of a Mac truck, but
they're not actually in their defense, they are a little bit smaller than the 4090s. But
it
still,
wouldn't be hard as somebody with a giant case currently sitting on his desk for the
least expensive. The least expensive 5090 is $3,199 for a video card that people can't get their hands on. So now there's the 5080 and the 5070 Ti came out this week, and all of the launches have been a disaster because nobody can buy the fucking things, and the announced prices turned out to be utter bullshit. Like there were $750 US for the 5070 Ti, and they've been $1,000 because you can't buy them anyway. And so they increased the price of it to try to filter it out somehow. And so that's freedom dollars.
Free market works.
It's just been incredible. And the bigger question at this point is, does NVIDIA really give a fuck? Because they have very clearly
they haven't given a fuck since the 20 series.
No, but even so, right now their entire focus is AI.
Yep.
Yeah,
because that's how they turned into $1 trillion company, and the video card stuff is just
since
a side
the 3000 series. That's who they feed.
Yeah, so they can just say, well, we could make graphics cards for the nerds, or we could just keep making AI cards, I guess, or I don't know if they just sell them to the corporations and they just don't have the middleman or what. But
we could
all of their manufacturing
go into detail because Ed Zitron's got the receipts. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
and
it's incredible.
Yes, that is exactly what they're doing.
So
someone's saying that it's easier to buy one of these 16 GPU AI nodes for $16,000 and then parting it out, and you'd actually make more money.
Yeah, it's incredible. But yeah, so I mean, if talking about the Linux desktop, I mean, considering that your Windows options are extremely fucking compromised right now, is something. So if you're building a new system, just don't build a new system right now.
No, or go with an Intel graphics card.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the 5090 and the 5080 have been having the same melting cable issues that the 4000 series had.
Yeah,
They don't seem to be as widespread, but they've done some tests. They are pushing.
It's more widespread because
they are pushing so much juice through a single fucking cable on those cards, and like, of course, they're bursting into flames. I mean, it's stunning, and it's largely because of a dumb decision they made about the way that they were going to do the power distribution. Yeah, like it's just dumb. It's so fucking stupid. Like there's no. This never should have gotten out of R&D.
They just need to go the route that 3D Effects did with their last cards, where you actually had to plug the card into the wall. Sure. It had a Molex connector in it, and you plugged your video card into the wall.
I did not know that.
It's spiking 900 watts on some of these testing. I mean, it's running 600 for sure, but occasionally it'll spike to 900. So you need a monster power supply anyway.
The best time in history to start using as much electricity as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really important. How else are we going to do things other than use all of the electricity to play a video game?
It's just incredible. Anyway,
fun thing
go ahead,
is that the 5070 and above, they have pulled out all the 32-bit compatibility stuff, which means that if you dare fire up a game from like 2010 that uses PhysX, you are going to be getting 3 frames a second. Mm-hmm. People have tested it. They've pulled out, what was it? Mirror's Edge, the free running game.
Yeah.
If you kick a window to break it, your frame rate goes from 200 to 2 in no time because it's no longer able to do the PhysX calculations.
And this is not something that they're going to want to patch out either.
Well, no. In Borderlands, they were shooting the ground, and the little fragments of dirt, you could watch 10 frames fall off each time a bullet hits the ground.
Great.
It is ridiculous, and it wasn't even something they needed to do.
Buying the 50 series cars at all interested in playing games that are older than 3 years old? I mean, let's face it.
I mean, why tell people you can't play games that are that old? It's
there aren't games that old. Come on.
It's a ridiculous limitation.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
At a time when we should be talking about game preservation, this is where we're going. Right?
Well, even so, this number of generations into it, you would think that they would just have some kind of emulation that they would run that would be just as good as the original hardware, but there's just no incentive. The companies that made these games don't want to patch out physics support. They just they don't care anymore. They don't exist anymore. So, like everything else, we're probably going to end up seeing some fan create of their own 64-bit version of the physics.
The open source community to the rescue. I'm sure that's what we're going to see.
Wouldn't surprise me, because EA sure as hell isn't going to do it.
But I mean, Borderlands 4 is going to come out this year. If somebody gets a 5070 and wants to play Borderlands 1 to see where it started, they're going to have a real bad time as soon as they start shooting things and particles appear.
Yeah, go buy another computer with an older card.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway,
retro computers becomes computers that were 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. I also wanted to mention that the Humane AI pin, rest in peace. You gone too soon, gentle angle. That thing was just a joke. I mean, it was April. It feels like 1,000 years ago that this thing came out. It was April of 2024.
They were trying to sell themselves for $1 billion, Dr. Evil Pinky at the corner of the mouth.
To HP.
HP is now buying up what is left of them, their patents. I don't think they care anything about the hardware or the service for $100,000.
No, so, it's $100 million.
Or whatever. It's a fraction.
What's a couple of zeros here and there
of what they were trying to farm themselves out for when they realized that nobody wanted the thing.
Almost and like it's built on snake oil.
People paid $700 for these fucking things, and if you bought it more than 90 days ago, you're not getting a fucking thing. And if you did buy it within 90 days, they give you a refund.
What about the fire hazard battery pack?
Oh, that was the other thing. They were in the midst of doing a replacement for the charging cable or something, because that was a fire hazard, and they didn't even ship most of those out. But I guess now they don't give a shit because you can't. The only functionality that the Humane AI pin will have after Friday is it will tell you its battery level.
You can check the battery level. That's it.
That's the only thing.
The 12 people that bought it are getting what they got.
It won't even tell you what fucking time it is. I mean, that's incredible.
There's no other way to know that. There was a counterpoint, of course, to this story, which is nice and funny and like, yeah, fuck you, Joni Ive. But didn't those fucking scam artists Rabbit? They just released another thing. And like,
did they? They
just released another thing, and The Verge of all people is kind of taking them seriously.
That's sad.
Like, CoffeeZilla went after these guys and proved that they were just lying scammers.
Yeah, it was running on an
Why
Android.
are we still giving these people oxygen? Like, fuck off. Go away. Yeah, your thing is bullshit and always has been. Like, what?
We should go talk to Cohagen.
One of them might actually be good, so we have to be nice. One of them might be running the world in 2 years. It's not like some tech genius is going to end up as the shadow president within a certain amount of time. I mean, that'll never happen.
All I'm saying is, dear God, go listen to Ed Zitron. Just
what a shit show.
God, just go.
And then I also threw in the show notes that Netflix, they love their crime dramas. And so they have yet another crime drama about a pretty white girl who was murdered. And then they decided,
only kind of person that gets murdered.
Well, the only kind for Netflix, at least.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, hey, wouldn't it be cool because we have her diaries, what if we used AI to recreate her voice and we could have her reading her own diaries on the documentary? Wouldn't that add another level of amazingness to our incredible documentary? You fucking ghouls. You fucking like Jesus, Murphy. I mean,
what even can you say at this point? Like, moral compass? What
Jesus,
is that?
this is fine.
That's up there with Amazon having ChatGPT generate their movie synopsises, but then it runs into their "don't talk about trans people" filter, and it says, "I cannot tell you anything else about this movie due to restrictions."
To speak of this.
Yeah.
There's a Monty Python skit where John Cleese. I'm sorry, I know John Cleese is a complete dick these days. Used to be funny. John Cleese is playing a banker. And Terry Jones comes in as somebody looking for charity, like doing a charity drive. And one of the things that John Cleese does before Terry Jones enters the room is he sits down, opens a dictionary, and starts looking up the definition of inner life. And it's just this little moment of like, inner life. I don't know what that means. And it's just brilliant. And that's all it is. There's no callback to it. There's nothing.
A little throwaway.
And it's just, this is it. This is where we are, where we're at. This is the people at fucking Netflix going, moral compass. I don't know what that means.
Who better to tell her story than the dead woman?
Yeah.
Anyway, I have no
idea how to pivot from this. How do you
know what's not dead?
Oh,
the Pixels and Puppets Owncast server.
Perfect. Yes, the Pixels and Puppets Owncast server is actually up. I fixed the thing. There was a problem and I fixed it. It turned out what the problem was, speaking of open source problems, I was using an image that was not the official Owncast server Docker image. I was using one from a distribution platform that is usually quite big and quite reliable, but something happened, and I don't know what.
Was it linuxserver.net?
No, it was Elisio or something like that. They're quite a big like VPS service, and they publish their own Docker images of things that are sort of pre-configured, and they're thus far, up until this point, have been very handy. Yeah. It's what the other Owncast server ran on. Something happened. I don't know what happened. But in the meantime, and I didn't realize, I just hadn't pulled a new image and I was just using the old image and it was just things went weird and wrong. I ended up going, oh, right. I changed the source of the Docker image to the official Owncast server and lo and behold, everything worked just fine. So the Pixels and Puppets Owncast server is up and available to be followed if you are on the Fediverse. The problem is, because we had to switch domains from the old Operation Puppet server, I didn't want to risk it. I don't know that it may have been fine, but I didn't want to risk just copying the database over because there was a different URL. And basically you'd be like trying to force people to follow a Fediverse address that they didn't actually follow. As I'm sure that's coded in there somewhere that you can't do that. So if I had tried to copy the database over, it probably would have broken. So that means that if you did follow the old Operation Puppet Owncast server, you're going to have to refollow the new Pixels and Puppets Owncast server. The reason that I ended up doing this, and what I kind of thought about it for a while, because like now that we've kind of split and separated out the strictly puppet stuff of Operation Puppet from the Pixels and Puppets everything else stuff, it's like, well, what do I do with the Owncast server then? Do I run two Owncast servers? That would be kind of silly. So I realized, again, the answer is always right in front of me, but it's like, it's called Pixels and Puppets. It's okay if I also stream the build streams to the Owncast server. That's the puppet part of Pixels and Puppets. So yeah, so it's just the Pixels and Puppets Owncast server. It is owncast.pixelsandpuppets.com if you want to go there. If you want to type in letters, or it's in the show notes. Link is in the show notes.
And we christened the Pixels and Puppets Twitch stream and everything.
We did. I was going to get into that in the Gizmo Town.
I just wanted to mention that we'd actually started streaming on that. And your
things are happening. Finally, we did the actual inaugural Pixels and Puppets live stream. We streamed some Warframe, which we will talk about in the gaming section. But it was good. It was really good. And speaking of the Fediverse, the most number of viewers that we had both during the stream and views after the fact of the VOD was on PeerTube.
Yeah.
PeerTube won the day, which was great. Love to see it. Love you, Fediverse, as always. Okay, I think that will do it for Gizmo Town. We good? We good? Everybody good?
We good?
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with Pixels and Tokens.
Video games. Board games.
Video games.
Tabletop role-playing games.
Video games.
And now for Pixels and Tokens, where we talk about all kinds of gaming. But mostly video games.
Welcome to Pixels and Tokens, where we talk about the gaming stuff. And Jimmy the cat is here yelling his head off. I'm trying to keep him quiet, and I hope the mic didn't pick it up. But nevertheless, hi, Jimmy. Hi, how you doing? Go away. Okay, gaming. Go.
So the looked forward to apparently Last of Us Online that Sony canceled early last year.
I mean, that's what you do with live service games. Is you cancel
turns
them,
out
right?
Bungie talked them out of making it.
All right.
Sony bought Bungie for their live service expertise, and I guess they drop shipped some people to Naughty Dog to tell them what to expect running a live service game.
Our expertise says don't fucking do this.
Yep.
No, they explained to them what they would look for or look forward to with running it as a live service, and they realized that if they launched this, they wouldn't be able to do their weird space game they're doing now. So they decided to cancel the online game so they could do their weird space game.
I see.
Which is amazing, really. The fact, like, Naughty Dog is known for incredible single player experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they were ready to do a live service game because that's what Daddy Sony wanted. And they were like, we can do it. And I'm sure what they had was actually a really good game. I mean, it would have just been faction stuff. It would have been kind of like The Division set in that world. And it would have been a solid game, but it would have taken up the entire fucking company to run it and run it forever.
And going forward, yeah.
Yeah. And that was the key, is they realized after having spent, I'm sure $100 million already on it, they realized that this was going to be an albatross and that
a millstone, literally.
Yeah. And they just said, you know what? Fuck it. And, you know, the game that they're working on looks incredible. I'm very excited for it. And I'm sure they're already planning whatever's going to come after that as well. I mean, I'm sure that Sony would really like Last of Us 3. God only knows. But regardless, yeah, the fact that Bungie clearly said, no, this is, if you're going to do this, here's what it's going to take.
This is what you have to look forward to. And it basically informed them that, you know, we can't basically dedicate the entire studio to keeping this thing going forward.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't just start another studio to run it. I mean, I would have expected that, but I think it also came down to Sony realizing that they're all in live service. No, not that, but just the whole their mentality when they greenlit a dozen live service games, and they realized, oh fuck, this is a bad idea.
Well, Neil Druckmann couldn't let his brainchild go. He couldn't let somebody else run that. Like he's a very, this is mine, and no one else may even think the words of it.
Yep. And that was why
good things always happen with things like that.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's a good thing. I mean, you know, the live service was, as I've said before, it was kind of a monkey's paw. You know, it was like, wouldn't it be cool if we had a game that lasted forever? And that turned out to be a very bad thing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and now
cases.
Yeah. And so they're realizing that this is it's not a really healthy line, and
this is
people's expectations are insane. So
the market for that isn't what they thought it was. That's the thing. It had a fashion for a while, and that is done now.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that like that style of game have that game, and they play that game, and they like that game, and they're not really looking at anything else. And that's
the whole infinite growth mentality though, right? It's just like, oh, well, this one thing is popular, therefore all things like this will be popular and last
live
forever.
Live service
they tied onions to their belt, which was the fashion at the time.
Exactly.
It looked like an infinite money glitch, and they were wrong, and they lost a lot of money, and that's good.
Always are.
Yeah, but it is just funny though that it was Bungie that said, "Hey guys,
this is what it's like running it." And they're like, "Ooh,
do you like your life? Because you won't after this. I promise."
No, thank you.
All right.
So then I added, this is just funny. Like Call of Duty
speaking of infinite money.
Call of Duty Warzone and Black Ops 6 is taking on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who of course were in Fortnite last year or 2023 or something, but they've got more photorealistic versions of the Ninja Turtles in fucking Call of Duty because nothing matters anymore. It's just nothing makes sense, and it doesn't matter if it'll get eyeballs and people will spend some money on it.
I think so. I was listening to a long time ago one of the Next Lander podcasts when Vinny Caravella was just talking about what Fortnite is now, and he said it's just like getting a box full of random action figures and just like mashing them together, just like just pushing them into a solid throbbing lump. It's just.
But hey, if millions of people are going to do it every day, then have fun.
Throbbing Lumps, my new band name.
That's right. So the new skins are not bundled together. Players will have to buy each turtle separately in the game. Now, here's the fun part. Call of Duty actually uses COD points to buy stuff. So they're still using that old chestnut where you don't just pay money. You have to use points, which I'm guessing you can earn in game to some level. But it's just a matter of you can either earn the points or you can give us money. So basically, each of the heroes is going to cost you $20, which is evil. Like the fact that it's the fucking Ninja Turtles, so you're assuming they assume you're going to want all four. So that's $80. And then on top of that, if you want the Splinter skin and the cool cosmetics, which are part of the Battle Pass, that's another $10. So the fact that you paid $100 for Black Ops 6 is meaningless because
are these freedom dollars or
these are freedom dollars. These are freedom dollars. So yeah, so $300 Canadian. But it's just incredible, basically, that they've created an environment where if you want all the guys, it's going to cost you $90.
Yeah,
and people are going, okay,
classic. I mean, like this is the model, right? But I don't know anything about Ninja Turtle fandom. Are there people who have favorite turtles? I would. I have to imagine there are.
Absolutely. And it's always Donatello.
Yeah, because he's got the stick.
And he's also the smart one that does things as opposed to the other ones that have rage issues or food fetishes.
Yeah. The Kotaku article says that when they were in Fortnite in December 2023, the bundle of all four of them was 3,400 V-Bucks, which was $32, which is still hilariously expensive for what it is. But anyway, I just thought that was worth mentioning because of how utterly ludicrous it is. But
now the headline I saw was something about it cost them like a stupid amount of money to do this
for the licensing.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I can't. Paramount owns the Ninja Turtles, so it's not like Sony owns it. So I don't know. I mean, somebody got paid, and you know, the models look fine, but I don't know why you'd want to look like a Ninja Turtle running around a war game. But hey, God bless. Have fun.
I mean, this is, believe me, it's like people have very, very odd senses of humor, particularly online. And this is a good example of that because
the game that's supposed to be all about realistic warfare, also Ninja Turtles.
Look, realistic warfare, the grim reality of actually being in war, also the turtles.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Anyway, so I used to do a lot of mentions of all the free games that are out there, and as I've said before, right now, so the Epic Game Store has been doing weekly free games, basically weekly or bi-weekly, depending on what time of year it is. So every time you log in, there's usually 2 free games that are up on their main store. Now, last month, Epic launched an Android client where now they're giving away Android games on the app. And this week they are giving away Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 for free on the Android platform. So if you have any kind of an Android gaming device, this is a no-brainer. It's actually a decent port, and again, it is free. So this has been around for years too. I mean, they released that probably 10 years ago, I think.
But you have to sideload the Epic Game Store on your device to get access to it. Yeah, it's not available as a thing you can just plug in and play. You've got to actually go in and
because
it's side install it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Well, I've got it running on my phone at least. So, but yeah, that's
you should do that anyway.
And then I just want to mention real quick that yes, we all know that Amazon is evil, but if you are paying for Prime, there are free games to be had. They're currently giving away Wolfenstein Youngblood on Windows and Xbox, which was a real surprise. You can actually own it on Xbox forever just for having a Prime account. And they've also currently got BioShock Infinite, BioShock Remastered, Deus Ex Game of the Year. Those are all on GOG. So again,
a lot of them are GOG games now.
Jurassic World Evolution, Hard Space Shipbreaker, which is a very cool game,
and Steam Deck friendly.
Talos Principle Gold Edition is on there. Again, all you got to do is just go to gaming.amazon.com, and you can. So only a handful of the titles are only available on the Amazon launcher. They have their own launcher for some titles, but almost everything is either on GOG or Epic. Yeah. Elite Dangerous is on there too right now. So, so just if you're already paying for Prime, definitely jump on there.
Exactly.
And grab
if you already,
titles.
And you may be and don't even realize it, so it's worth checking out.
And again, you own them; they're yours. Like it's not tied to your Prime account. If you cancel Prime, you still own those games.
Yeah, they're just keys. They're just Yep. That's cool. Okay, this will be interesting because, of course, I had the typical reaction that everybody had when they heard about the news that Marvel Rivals, the really gigantic #1 game of all time currently in the rotation, at least if you believe Twitch, had layoffs of staff this week.
Their entire U.S. development group in Seattle, I believe, got laid off.
But it wasn't even that many people. So it's very strange. But at first it was just like, oh my God, successful game. Then they're fucking it already, despite the fact that it's looking to gross $1 billion. But it really seems to be coming down to NetEase, which is a Chinese company, and a big part of this is it has to do with the climate in the United States, especially involving international trade. So they have. It looks like they've basically they're pulling out of a lot of deals that they were making with American companies and Japanese, oddly enough. But there was a report they were pulling the plug on some games that Suda51 and that the company that makes Yakuza were working on. So I mean, because it looked like they were going to be the next big thing where they were just going to write big checks to all these great developers and let them make games, and now they're starting to pull back from all of this. So it's pretty incredible. So instead of just being about games industry, it does look like there's a lot more.
There's more
stake
to it,
here.
Yeah. That's it, and you're right. It is very interesting, and because we are in this protectionist kind of phase, thanks to certain events, that are occurring. We are absolutely in a very transitional point that isn't great for doing things across borders, for example. And I don't know how that shakes out, how where we're going from this point, other than the fact that NetEase can't do what it does without the international market, but they're trying to keep their developers in-house. You know what I mean?
And who can blame them? But obviously, with something like Marvel Rivals, you would think that it would require a lot of North American input, because it's not a Chinese game. It's the world that they're using is very much an American production. Excuse me. So it's very there's a lot more going on here, and this the story about them pulling out of Japan development as well is also interesting. Mm-hmm. So, and a lot of studios have obviously gone all in with NetEase, assuming that they were going to be the safe bet for paying the bills for the 5 years that it takes you to develop a lot of these titles.
Particularly interesting from my point of view, because I think NetEase is one of the majority shareholders in Digital Extremes, if I remember correctly.
I don't think it's NetEase.
Is it not NetEase?
It's the other one, Tencent.
Tencent. You're right.
Yeah. The other one.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're fine.
And they're also, it's a Canadian developer, and I'm sure
there was also
things may actually be better.
NetEase almost shit can rivals because they didn't want to pay Disney what they were asking.
Yeah.
So like the fact that they were already done, the game was almost done, and they were like, "You want how much? Fuck that." I can only imagine that they pull the license and then they just reskin all the characters into generic heroes, and would it be the same game or just another Overwatch clone if they didn't have
it's not Wolverine, it's
all those characters? Wolfman person.
Wolverine.
There you go.
Wolverine.
I like Wolverine. Okay, talk to me about Avowed. Avowed is out, and apparently it's good, and I have been curious. It
is absolutely worth looking into. Obsidian's great. I mean, Obsidian's one of the best devs on the planet. So, and the people that I like Aftermath specifically, their writers have been very much in love with the game. I fired it up today for the first time just to get a taste of it, and it's a first-person interface. You can do a third person, but it's designed as a first-person setup. But it's a really... So what I didn't know is that Avowed is actually part of the Pillars of Eternity series.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I think they're being cute about it because it gives them the advantage of having a built-in universe, because there's already 2 of those games, but they don't want to scare people off by thinking, oh no, I haven't played those games, so I don't want to try this one because I'm going to be lost. What's really cool, and this is one of the great things about it, in the dialogue trees, you press a button, and what they do is they highlight terms in the game, and then you can basically read the lore for what that is. So they can use it casually in conversation, and you're like, I don't know what that is. And you hit X and it brings up the options, and you can tab through.
That's good.
It's such a simple device, and it's so critical because, again, this is an established world, and this way they don't have to just use generic terms. They can use the real terms like they would casually, and then you can fill yourself in and go, oh, okay, they're the crazy assassins or whatever. And it's a very simple and very effective tool for getting through it. Your character doesn't talk. I mean, you have the dialogue, but they don't say the dialogue. You just click on it, and the other character responds. I'm fine with that. I mean, you have a voice, but they barely use it. So, and I mean, it's a true fantasy environment. There's a lot of different races in it. The designs are crazy. There's a lot of flora and fauna. The floral stuff. The storyline is about some kind of a mushroom infestation kind of a thing, or fungal infestation that possesses people and makes them go insane. So there's a lot of plant stuff in it. It makes for some cool design stuff. And again, I've barely scratched the surface, but but it is absolutely, and it is part of Game Pass. If you do have a Game Pass subscription, there's zero barrier to entry. I'm pretty sure it's on all platforms too. I don't think it's exclusive. It might be exclusive because it is credited to Xbox game development. But again,
I think they're done with exclusivity.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm pretty sure it's not.
So yeah, it's on Steam at least. So
right,
it's no, right now it's on Xbox and Windows. So it's not on PlayStation, but anyway, it's a really cool world. IGN only gave it a 7, but it's worth looking into, and especially if you're looking for a new RPG to dive into. And a lot of people have already said that they're going to go back and play the Pillars of Eternity games. I'd always intended to, just like everything else. But I own both of the other games for the PC, but I just, that's a big ask. Those are big ass RPGs, like old school CRPG stuff. But Outer Worlds as well is another one that's been on my list, of giant fucking list, that infinite list, that list that doesn't stop, that goddamn haunting.
But surely you're getting through it now. Surely there can't be so much Destiny that it's filling up the rest of your life.
No, even we're pretty much off Destiny. I mean, there's a new chapter is out, but I mean, I might dive in just to get through the story bits. But
speaking of, Avowed was initially pitched as Skyrim X Destiny.
Yeah, I'm sure they were probably trying to do a.
It was Jason Schreier did a Bloomberg deep dive on Avowed, and in the article I've got linked here, the initial thought was it was going to be like a live service type RPG, Skyrim with Destiny notes. So it changed several times.
That's called Elder Scrolls Online, but okay.
There were multiple vertical slices that happened, and it was only until relatively late in development, apparently, that it all came together for what is launched.
Amazing how many good games that is the case for.
Yep. It's also I just want to mention real quick, when you're in the first area, it's basically a tutorial. And what's cool about it is that it gives you a taste of all of the options. So I mean, you're not just set to one class. You can kind of spec out as you want, because they give you your dagger, and then you give you a sword, and then they give you a wand and a grimoire. They give you your bow and arrow.
It's very Elder Scrolls. Like whatever you pick up and use is the thing you're going to get good in.
And it gives you, and then you can choose which direction you want to go in. Like if you want to be a warrior or a ranger or wizard. So they're doing the classics in that respect, but they don't lock you down. I'm pretty sure there's some flexibility as you go. But anyway, it's a very cool RPG, and it's one thing I did do immediately was I was disappointed because it was running at 30 frames a second. I'm like, well, what the fuck is this? So I went into the settings. Sure enough, it was set to pretty mode, and I turned it to performance mode, and then it runs at a nice smooth 60. So I'm definitely in camp. Give me 60 FPS or give me death. So. But I was surprised that it didn't ask me which one I wanted to do at the start. It gave me the prettier 30 FPS version. I'm like, no, thank you.
Which is the opposite to what it usually does. It usually defaults to performance then.
Or even balanced. I mean, there is a balanced option as well, but I'm like, no, just give me the 60. So anyway, I'm probably gonna play that as much as I played the Indiana Jones game.
So 11 minutes.
Yeah. Get started, get into an area, and then
it's good. Andrew won't play it. That's our thing.
And he wants to play it.
Yet something stands in his way. It's called Andrew.
Well, also Diablo right now. So
okay. You're in a good place with Diablo.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still. I was gone for a couple of weeks, so I'm a little behind. But it sounds like Jamie was also kind of stepped away from it a bit, so he's not like glowing and rolling a third character or anything.
I mean, I'm only 200 in the prestige. So.
Oh yeah. So I still, I'm still enjoying that. I'm still rolling the Spiritborn, but Jamie rolled a Barbarian this season, which is insane.
We talked about that last podcast.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, gaming is happening. Gaming is afoot.
Speaking of which,
it's good to game.
There's the transition, I guess.
Yep.
I'll try and keep this short. So this is a challenge because obviously this is the game I'm playing now, and I'm going to talk about it because fuck it, it's my podcast. But I don't want it to just be the same shit every week. Like I don't want to just get, is this such a good game? I want to have specific things to talk about, obviously, at least something that's maybe relevant to somebody who's outside the game, who may not necessarily be interested in the minutia of the game itself, because believe me, I could go into detail, but I won't. But so I'll just do a kind of summary of what's been going on Warframe wise. The first being, of course, that Jamie and I actually played Warframe together on stream, nonetheless.
Flawlessly. Never failed a mission.
No problem at all, ever. And
didn't get the rail jack exploded at one point.
Paragroot didn't see a thing. Shout out Paragroot.
Regardless of what they might say.
It's true. It was great. It was such a good time.
I got to Nidus the hell out of these ships that we would incapacitate and
I gave Jamie a taste of Railjack is what it comes down to, and that was pretty good. You see what I see in Railjack now, I hope, because damn, how can you not love that? Oh my God.
We are the first two humans to learn that the main gun in a Railjack has alt fire.
True. Nobody in the PeerTube chat pointed that out. No.
Who'd have thunk it?
It was.
I
can't blow up the ship, Kevin.
People are like,
you check it.
Me, and in my stream, how to play the game. Welcome to the Warframe experience.
No idea that you could change that gun from the big explode thing gun to
it's got a weapon swap, gun. same as your Warframe does. They just kept that functionality because it's intuitive. Go fig. And suddenly, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, no, it's just do the thing you do in Warframe. It's just that. Do that, and you'll be fine.
We cracked some relics.
We did crack some relics. We got some epitaph parts. Jamie's ready to go on his primer. We're good. It was really good. It was really fun.
Those storms hurt real bad.
Yeah, the time we blew up was when I wasn't paying attention. Now the problem with all this, of course, is it's on VOD. Edit that out. The Twitch channel, which is, we do have a Pixels and Puppets Twitch channel. I wasn't going to do Twitch at first, but it's like, whatever. So yeah, there is a Pixels and Puppets Twitch channel. You don't save the VOD by default on Twitch. It turns out you have to turn that on. You have to opt into that. So
they also just lowered the amount they'll store.
Yes.
I know someone who's got to dump 4,000 hours of VODs.
Good. Anyway, so there is no VOD on Twitch. There is on YouTube and, of course, PeerTube, which is where we got the majority of users. And as always, going forward, anything that we do will be broadcast on the Owncast server as well, which will be archived on the PeerTube server by default. So that was cool and fun, and we had a good time, but it was...
And I hope my stunning display has inspired Kevin to roll in Nidus.
I haven't got Nidus yet. I don't even know how to farm Nidus. I should look into that. I know I've got at least one piece of the blueprint for Nidus. I don't know where I got it. Probably some relic, but...
Nidus is not like any other. Like, you've got an infestation meter that you can use.
Walking, right? Nidus is
the helminth talks to you like you're its deity.
It's almost like you're still catching up on 10 years of content.
Go fig. Yeah. But yeah, there was that. So the other thing I wanted to point out was this was every time we talk about Warframe, for the past, I don't know, like 3 or 4 podcasts, it's been like, what's going to make Kevin come close to crying this week? Okay, this is what it is this week.
I covered on the music one.
It's true, yeah. It's good on you because it was close. We're gonna try to keep it together. We're good. We're cool. We're awesome. We're gamer dudes doing gamer dude.
Hell yeah.
So there was every week, the Warframe community managers do a stream called Prime Time. And it's usually, like Twitch drops, usually something just cosmetic and silly and fun.
Megan's still running that?
Megan does run it occasionally. It's I believe Haley is her name, and I can't remember the name of the guy who joins her frequently. There's a number of community managers who do it.
I remember when it was just Reb and Megan.
Yeah, well, Reb is now like running the game.
Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
like,
But it was the best. The two of them would be on there. They talk about their favorite animes for most of it.
Oh,
and then,
yeah, no, it's still that.
There was Warframe.
It's still that. It's still all that. It's still, and again, this is the community vibe is just like off the charts. It's just like hanging out with your friends. Like it's not corporate, right? It's got a nice kind of friendly vibe. And like Reb still does like weekly streams. Like she does the dev shorts now. Her and Steve do dev shorts every week. 15 minutes on the clock. We're going to stream to Twitch and YouTube. You ask us whatever you want in the chat. We'll answer it. But when the 50 minutes are up, that's it. Hard cutoff. So
nice.
They do that every week, and it's really cool. She didn't do it this week, as Steve spilled, who's the CEO of Digital Extremes, in the chat, because she was in the recording studio for whatever the next update was. Now, if you know Warframe stuff, you know Rebecca Ford is, of course, the voice.
She's got a character.
Who is a main character. We may be getting new Lotus voice lines. Now, that's one part. The other part I'm thinking is they're also about to release a new frame that is guitar themed. Rebecca Ford plays the bass. This is like a thing. She's a bass player.
Yeah.
And they're doing a lot of music in the Warframe 1999 thing. And of course, there's going to be a lot of music around the new Warframe. I'm just kind of wondering, maybe Rebecca's in the band that is recording for the music for the new Warframe. I'm not getting my hopes up for new Lotus voice lines because they haven't done that in a while. But who knows? There may be new.
Maybe it'll be new Margulis voice lines.
Oh man, don't even go there. That's a whole other thing. But anyway, so one of the things that they do this every year. Speaking of Rebecca Ford, the reason that this particular charity hooked up with Digital Extremes is because Rebecca Ford met somebody who used to work at Digital Eclipse, another DE, who makes Elite Dangerous. She met somebody who worked there, Paige something, I can't remember what her name is, I'll look it up, who then went on to work for a UK charity called Special Effects. Special Effects is basically the UK equivalent of Able Gamers. I've talked about Able Gamers on the old podcast before. They are an accessibility, people who are physically disabled, who want to still game. They, of course, have special needs. These are charities that will help them get the equipment that they need to be able to continue gaming. And Special Effects is the UK-based kind of equivalent of that. Yeah. They're a bit smaller. Actually, Able Gamers is quite large, and Special Effects is quite small. Literally, like Paige was saying on the stream, there's like 30 people who work there. That's it. But because she's friends with Rebecca Ford, they hooked up with the Digital Extremes community and therefore the Warframe community. And every year they do a charity drive called Game Blast. And last night, which was Thursday, the 20th of February, they started their current annual drive, and they set about to do a fundraiser with the Warframe community. The goal they set when the stream started was $5,000.
They had some tiers. Where if they hit these tiers, everyone would get some Forma.
5,000, right?
Yep. Oracle reactors.
And as you hit these tiers, there would be like special drops in game to get these things. They hit the $5,000 tier before they had a chance to put the infographic up. The Warframe community came the fuck out for this, because by the time the stream was over 2 hours later, they were at 17,000 and something. It was unfucking believable, and I'm so happy I got to watch it live, like as it was happening. Seriously, like the community managers, and they've been doing this for a long time. They're pros. They know how to handle this. They were stunned. They were just they were on the verge of crying, because like so much money was just like coming in for this quite small charity in the UK from this community, and they just went, fuck it, we're just gonna do this, and that's it. So right now, currently, I'm looking at the page for a special effect. I'll put the link in the show notes. They're currently sitting at $23,063 raised for special effect. 461% past the original goal.
That's amazing.
Unfucking believable. And that's it. That's what I keep saying about this is what this community does. It's like they show the fuck up. They do the thing. I'm not trying to paint it like some kind of utopia, but man, when shit got to get done, they do it. So This is why I am proud and happy to still be in this game and doing this thing, because there's so much good stuff around it. This is seriously like a mental oasis for me. We are currently in such a dark place in the world. This is a little kind of, this is what I try to do with Operation Puppet. I try to be like a little kind of space people just kind of go to and kind of go, look, there is something nice in the world. This is what that is for me. And it's been amazing. So, wow. I don't know what else to say. It's just like unbelievable.
No, it's amazing.
So good. Yeah. So there we go. That's what's been happening in the Warframe world. There's your bi-weekly roundup. Good heavens.
So
it's good stuff.
When are we going to get Andrew in Warframe?
I mean,
it's a good question.
No pressure. Absolutely no pressure. I mean, this is another thing I've been thinking about lately is like, I might actually start making some Warframe oriented videos specifically for people who are just kind of getting into it, because I'm now at the point where I'm definitely no longer a beginner, but I'm certainly not a vet. I'm at the kind of, I'm just getting into cruise control now, right? I'm just starting in Steel Path. I know how builds work. I got some theory crafting going on. I'm in my comfort zone. I'm figuring stuff out. I'm certainly not perfecting it. I by no means am min-maxing at any point at this right now, but I can sort of see my way there. But I also know the stumbling blocks that people are facing, because it really is a complex game and it is tough to get into. And so I'm thinking that's where I can be of some degree of service, because I can help people who may have, like me, bounced off of it at first because of all these complexities and challenges, and I can help them get onto it. So
navigate it.
There's hope. Right, that's the thing. There is so many good vibes in this whole thing that although it does take effort, much like Linux on the desktop, hey, we're wrapping it around. It does take effort, but the effort will be rewarded if you do that. So
for a future stream, I've got OBS set up now.
Okay,
and I've got my side stream set up. So if you come up with some sort of either split screen or maybe overlapping squares layout,
we gotta set up a time to test that, because yes, that's one of the things with Railjack, particularly, and it's only specific with Railjack, is because we have literally somebody, like a team that stays on the ship and a team that goes, like an away team that goes on the station. And it would be really cool to be able to... But even
regular missions, having multiple, especially like if we're doing like spy missions or something like that, where we're splitting up and doing stuff like that is beneficial. Having a second point of view.
Being able to see from both, like, if we're cracking multiple volts or something, that would be, there's so much. There is
so I can throw my point of view to my side stream, and then you can bring that in as an RTMP media source. And just throw that over in the second spot.
Yeah, we got to work out the technicalities there, are the delay, right? Because that's, if there's more than 30 seconds or 30 nanoseconds of delay, there's going to be, it's going to get weird. But
it won't be too bad. It's not 30 nanoseconds, but it's also not like 10 seconds. So, as long as you're bringing the audio and even a webcam in via Discord, the gameplay being slightly out of sync won't be as noticeable.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's probably if we can get your webcam in with the lowest possible delay. If you
just window capture it from Discord, and I put it in that way, then you can just pull it in that way, and then have everything else come in via the RTMP source.
We'll figure it out, possibly even this weekend. We will see. But
yeah, let me know.
Yeah, well, there'll be more of that. I think there will definitely be more of that. At least of me. I got a lot. I got some stuff. You believe me. There's if you want Warframe stuff, you're coming to the right place because I got a lot we can do. Okay, are we good? Is that going to be it?
I think so.
We're pretty much at time here. We kind of nailed it. That's not bad. All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thanks, Andrew. I hope you feel better.
Me too.
Everybody listening, all the tens of people listening to this podcast, hope you feel better. Okay, as always, OperationPuppet.com for all of the links. Stay tuned for the entirely likely possibility of build streams this week and possibly Pixels and Puppets video game streaming at any point during the weekend. And we hopefully, let me make sure I know where the button is. Outro. There we go. Okay. Thank you.
Join the Discord.
Thank you, Andrew. Join the Discord. And
thank you, Kevin.
We will catch you next time.
You have been listening to Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet podcast. Visit www.operationpuppet.com for all our links. Tell your friends, give us a rating wherever you get your podcasts, and join us again because nothing is more entertaining than aging nerds giving their opinions on the internet.